So I am going to go ahead and get started. I know it's only a minute after, but if people come in late, that'll be just fine. It's going to be easiest for you if you are able to access the presentation that we're using. You can get to the presentation through using Google Classroom as a student, using the code IQV254D, or you can use the presentation link in the bottom right-hand corner. So how many of you know what a digital breakout is? Or have a little bit of a concept? All right, so the first thing that we're actually going to do is we are going to do I would like to call it a quick digital breakout, although slightly embarrassed, it took me a little bit of time to break out of this one, and it was, on a 3rd grade level. So I'm going to give you a chance to go ahead and try it, just literally for a couple minutes on your own, just so you can kind of experience them on your own. But then we're going to kind of work as a group to get through it, because I did not want to use too much of our time with us just playing. Although on a Friday before St. Patty's Day, it could be kind of fun. So if you go ahead to give it a try, go ahead and click where it says help the leprechaun find his gold, and it will actually go ahead and launch the digital breakout for you. Yep, you can go ahead and get started. So it's just not letting me.
Yeah, you gotta go back.
Yeah, thank you. I did go back to the screen for those of you who have just come in. There's a presentation link in the bottom right-hand corner, but also if you would prefer to go to it by using the Google Class code and going into the Technology Integration Sandbox, you can get to the presentation link there as well. So the first thing that we're doing is there is the second page of the slideshow will launch you into a true digital breakout, and we're just going to spend a few minutes letting you work independently on this just to experience it, and then we're going to kind of break into a couple of groups and work on them together for time's sake. Oh, because we can't search for it. Thing. Whoops. Well, that site works, so we're good, right?
Do you know? Okay. So did I, and I know.
That's how I feel right now. I'm using Brittany's because this one. All right, so those of you who have just come in, are we at least getting in the right direction so that you don't feel lost? Has anybody been able to unlock anything yet? Megan, sorry. Right letter, right. I'll leave that with you. You can either go in by joining the Google Classroom or the presentation. Whichever is for you. And if you need help, just let me know. Update. It's IQV254D. 254D. Hi guys!
Hey.
2 ways that you can get into our presentation today. If you're most comfortable going through Google Classroom, you can use the code that's in the top left-hand corner. If you prefer to just use the presentation link, it's the second link up from the bottom. If you need any assistance with that, go ahead. We're basically on the second page, second slide. Because it is view only for you. There you go. No problem. All right, so what we're going to do is we will give a couple of you just a few more minutes to get onto the page, and then we are going to split into, I believe, 5 groups. Let me just double check that 5 is what I think will work best. Yeah, 5 will work best if we want to kind of go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So what those groups are saying is the first lock, I'm going to ask those of you who are in this area to only concentrate on the first lock. This row to only concentrate on the second lock, third lock, fourth lock, and fifth lock. And what we're going to do is we will just use my breakout page right here on this computer. Once you kind of figured out what the code is, you put it in on your computer and it worked, come back here, and this is kind of our group computer. So you guys are just trying to unlock number 1. When you're successful, you will come and enter it on kind of our master key back here.
So is the puzzle part of that?
It is.
Okay.
The puzzle is part of it. So in a digital breakout, you're going to kind of hide clues all around a web page or a Google slide for your students.
I think that is true.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you guys have the date lock. I think the date is the last one. You guys have the 9 word. You have the number. I don't remember what the second lock was. Oh, the 9. Oh, you got, 9 word, 4 words, number.
Maybe. Try it.
Aaron, how do we know which clue helps us with?
You don't. Okay. No, that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to literally wait to about 1 more minute, and then I'm going to start to give some hints because I want us to have fun with this, but I don't want us to consume too much of our time.
I put that in it. Oh, because I used. Okay.
So if you unlock the one that you were assigned, come back to the master computer, type it in, and as a master, that was unlocked for us.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll type. Yep.
Okay.
Yay! Excellent. We got a winner here. Good job. Here you go. We all need to do a little bit of action. She unlocked. Wait, did you get one?
I don't know.
Oh no. So you'll see here in a second. Anita is typing, and she knows the answer to the number 4 lock. So that one is unlocked now. Now obviously it won't. It'll only submit that one. So now we need to unlock the other 4.
When you click on the blue word clovers at the top,
Yes.
what are you supposed to do? What am I doing with that?
Okay, so in a digital breakout, you just kind of hide clues all around for your students.
Okay.
It may or may not be a clue, because it doesn't always lead you in a good direction. I will actually tell you that Clover Map had me pretty darn frustrated. Not gonna lie, everybody was going to bed and mommy was still looking at clovers. So to my knowledge, the clovers didn't lead me in the right direction. I ended up not using the clovers to discover any answers.
Yeah. So can we go to another thing?
Yeah, if your group has found the one, go ahead and do another. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give a hint to the date lock group, because this one had me confused for a while. I tried a lot of different things. Roll up to the top. The same tab you say, you can click on that and it'll take you to an article. Okay, so, no. Okay, read the art. I had to try a few, but the answer is there. You guys had the 9-word lock, right? The 9-word lock, look at the receipt and don't think too hard. It's only about the items that you purchased. And, okay, so if you got it, go ahead and bring it up. Put it in up here as our master.
Oh, I gotta read the first one?
Yes. Congratulations. Congratulations. Awesome. Okay, so I'm not going to lie. You guys have the directional lock, right? You have the second one. So you have the directional lock. The directional lock had me stumped. I finally had to go to school and tell my service lawyer, this is your job. Find me the answer because I can't do it. The answer to the directional lock.
Oh, I think I figured out the date.
to the directional lock is right here. It is in the intro. You can scroll down and go to it.
I don't know if mine turned green when I clicked.
Yes, it
Okay.
should be good.
Left. One day, left. So start with left.
Yay, here you go. Woo! We're getting good. You can give it away now. Does anybody help you?
Oh, I'll give it.
Give it away.
Alright, what if you get
Right. Left.
What is what? Yeah, so that is telling you that you would yes, it's the right answer. It is still locked. So you were trying to answer the color form. So if you scroll to the bottom of this page, not just the form,
Oh, I'm just
also put it in a master computer, you would put this puzzle together as your pencil.
Already started it and left.
Well, you were in the second group, so you should have been working on the directional lock, but that's just fine.
L. RL.
All right, so after Danielle types this code in, we will have solved, hopefully,
Well, are you?
L. You have on here, L-U-D.
Oh, L-U-D.
R, yep.
Got it.
Excellent. So we can now see we have put in all of our locks. We can scroll to the bottom, hit submit, and yes, you did it. The leprechaun can now go home with his pot of gold. So I know for many of us, I'm guessing this was a little frustrating because we wanted the answers. Now, I don't think any of our content knowledge is necessarily St. Patty's Day. I mean, maybe there are some leprechauns in here who are experts. And this information did not necessarily have to do just with St. Patty's Day. I mean, the total, that was just the total of the receipt. But you can take a breakout and you can concentrate it with your content area. So let's go ahead and take a look. Helps if I go back to my right slide here. Take a look at how that breakout was produced. That breakout was produced with a Google form using response validation. When you use response validation in a Google form, you are going to click, there are 3 dots that are hidden right here, so you can choose response validation. What I'd like everyone to do is go to their Google Drive and go ahead and click on new and ask for a new form. Now, if you already have an idea in mind of what kind of question you could possibly ask a group of students, feel free to go ahead and create your idea around that. But otherwise, you can just make up a question for today. You want to do a date lock, you could use today's date. You want to do what is H2O and you want your answer to be water? Could do that. You should have an idea maybe for your content area, something you're studying. So I want you, where it says untitled question, go ahead and type in a question that would give you a date answer, a 1-word answer. If you want it to be 2 words all run together, that's fine. In parentheses, you want to explain to the user, should they use all caps? Should they use any spaces? You want to try to keep it simple to not confuse them. So in my example, I did a date lock and I specifically told the user to use parentheses, double month number, double day, or year, parentheses. It's very important that you help the user along to know what to use. Otherwise, they could be trying basically the right code, but not putting it in correctly, and that's frustrating. So you do always want to test your form to make sure it's working properly. So how are we doing coming up with a question? And maybe giving your user an idea of how you want that in there. Is that making sense? Yeah. Yeah, so right here where it says like untitled question, what is Mr. Kreiner drinking? That could
People
be
wondered that for a long time.
that could be your question, and maybe the response that you want your students to use is the word Pepsi, either, and then you would want to tell them all small case or all capitals in parentheses to not confuse them. Make sense? Ask me if you have questions, please. Don't put the answer in yet. Number answers number answers will work. If you want any letters to be incorporated in your number answer, you'll do it the same way we're going to do the feet. Yes. Yes, you can title your form if you would like it. Yes, why don't we, yes, please go ahead, even if you want to call it, Amazing Leprechaun. Alright, so if you scroll down to the actual question part, you should see 3 little dots on the right-hand side beside the word required, and you do want to make the question required, so flip it to the right, and then the 3 little dots, you want to choose response validation. Response validation. Response validation. When you choose response validation, it's going to give you short answer, sorry.
Short answer.
Does need to be a short answer. Once you choose response validation, you're going to have 4 places that you need to pick something from. So in the first option, you're going to pick if it's a number, text, length, or regular expression. Most of you will probably be picking text. You might be picking number, but only pick number if your answer includes only numbers. Like a date lock can't be numbers. A date lock is text. So I think we're all going to want to choose text probably for that first one. If you only have a number answer, please choose number. Yes. Response validation.
After you pick the option.
now it comes up. Okay. Response validation. So after you choose text, your next option, you're going to want to put contain. Then you're going to put the correct answer in, just as you want the students to do it. So if you said all capital letters, make sure you do all caps. If you said all lowercase, all lowercase. The last option to the right is where you're going to choose what text you want to come up if the student has answered incorrectly. And in most of mine, I use still locked. I just let them know it's still locked. Okay, so you're going to choose where it says number, you want to choose text. And then contain, here you are going to put contains. Where it says text, you're going to put in Pepsi. Now, I do recommend either all uppercase or all lowercase, just so you can tell the students how you want it. But if you want them to have to think about capitalization stuff, okay, then that would be fine. Just say follow proper English. So then, what do you want them to see if it is still locked? If it didn't break out, like you're wrong, I use still locked, try again. What do you want it to say? All right, and after that, you have actually created a lock on a Google response form. So now you want to think about how do you want to deliver that to the students. A couple different ways depending on how you push materials out to the students that you could do that, which we will talk about a little more at the end, but the key is getting the link. So for those of you who may not be familiar with Google Forms, at the top where it says send, top right hand corner, you go to send and go to the second option, which is the link button. you have a link right there, and that is a link to your question. So you could go ahead and copy that link, and then whether you're emailing that to students, putting that on your Google Classroom, putting it in a Google Doc that you're pushing out to them, in a hyperlink, whatever the choice works for you. If you want to go ahead and try your lock just to see if it works, on the eyeball, you can click the eyeball to preview it. I will go back to that form. Top right hand corner, the eyeball, the preview, and you can actually try your question. You do want to get in the habit of trying your questions. You don't want to, students can get very discouraged as well as adults if we are feeding them a lock that doesn't work. Did yours work, Danielle? Excellent job. Okay, so right here, stick in like still locked or the word locked. You do love this computer, don't you? Okay, so if you wanted to send the link to a student, you can click send. And then you can click the link. And then simply copy and paste that link to however you would push materials to students. If you just want to preview it right now, you can X out of here and click the eyeball so you can try your own locks. How many of us were successful with our own locks? Did we do good? Mr. Kiner, do you know what you're drinking?
I think.
All right, do we feel pretty comfortable that we were able to do at least the lock that we tried? All right, excellent. So let's look at ways that we can lead students to clues. Of course, with our leprechaun, we were looking at clicking on the shamrock at one point. We were looking at putting a puzzle together. When you're trying to find different clue ideas, leading students to crack the case just through the use of content knowledge, whether it's analog or digital, it could be from an article, a quiz, a video, a song, an artifact, a puzzle, and these are just ideas. So on the right-hand side is an example of a fake ticket that can be used as a resource, maybe for a place or a date. You know, maybe a student has a ticket to a historical event, and they're going to find out, maybe I'm going to see Romeo and Juliet. And so maybe somehow that's a clue. Maybe, what would be a date we could ask a student with Romeo and Juliet? Is there a date there you could ask? Maybe you could say, where does it take place?
Right, yeah.
And that could be on the ticket as a clue. So that could be used even as an introduction piece. You know, sometimes we want students to have an idea of content knowledge before we actually instruct the knowledge. We need them to dig a little and find out some information. So that would be an example of how we could get them started. Some other clue ideas, you can take a series of multiple choice questions and a Google Doc, and the answer can spell out the code. So I would like you to go ahead and participate in the first example. And I'm sorry, we're going back to some more St. Patty's Day questions for fun here. But remember, you could always Google the answer, just as if you were using this as an intro to an activity for students, ask them to Google the answers. Some of these you might know, some of them you may need to Google. And then to actually reach the lock on the right-hand side of the first slide, there is lock for multiple choice. If you click on the word lock for multiple choice, it will take you to the lock. And feel free, you know, you can work on this with a partner if you want, or do it solo, or for a group if you want to work together. See if we can find some answers, but then we are gonna move on. If you want to be real loud, I mean, if you want to hear it. Yeah, so if you go to percent. Sorry. These are your questions. Yay! Brittany's obviously a St. Patty's Day expert back here. I mean, I could have used a bad website for questions. We could blame the inventor or the producer here. I started with some like with content here, and I couldn't do it either. All right, so A. First one is A. Second one is A. So we'll give you some hints. We don't want to be. Brittany's just back here chilling. Maybe I have the wrong answer. I mean, I'm not a leprechaun. Maybe my website was bogus. A. Oh, I see some more good answers here. So go ahead and click next. Okay, so when you do get the answer right, you click next. The lock is prompting you to do something else.
Third chair. I'm the third chair. Something on my chair?
I love it.
I ain't got nothing.
Yay, Michelle got it. Okay, so. Well, think about it. Now, would you just want your students to stand here? I don't know what it means with their chair.
That's what they do.
I know. That's not what we want
I
to
was
do.
channeling my inner sixth grader to help you.
Oh, yes, Danielle's going to get it. She's going to do it. Which prize would you like? A bag of gold? Some lovely glasses? All right, nice job, Danielle.
I didn't want to.
All right, there is one more shamrock in here. There is another shamrock in here because there could be another third chair.
Chris, I'm looking under your rear end.
No.
Okay, I'm looking under your butt. Tom, get it out.
Oh, they're
Sorry, Chris. You made a lucky rear.
PK prize. Yay! Oh, I love shamrocks, so I'll just collect them. Alright, so that's one way you could ask your students to, kind of get a little bit of assessment out of it, but still incorporate a lock. The next one is using Google Forms as a quiz, and once the students have answered all the questions correctly, because they're locked the whole way down, or they just need to fill in a response, they can receive a URL, maybe more clues, maybe a code, in the feedback when they view their score. So go ahead and hit example and we will walk through another one. The clue is on the left-hand side and the right side is the lock.
It's only powerful.
Okay.
That's okay. So this is the clue and then this is the lock. Would you like some props? You need a mustache too. You need a mustache?
How am I going to hold these and take the picture?
I will take your picture.
Oh.
Oh, that's selfie mode. Yay! All right, now you get a prize. Would you like a bag of gold?
Yes, I would love to.
There you go.
This goal's not gonna stand.
Would you like me to take the picture since it's a little on the tricky side? Oh, great. Back at the back. Oh, there we go. Yay! Have a bag of gold.
Like, I want to go back to my own.
No worries.
Yes.
Maybe.
That's what I'm saying. In the text, it says still walk. Nope, sucks to be you.
So Aaron, it's just done if it says, if it doesn't say anymore, you're just done.
Sucks to be you.
But why don't they find it?
Did you unlock
This
it?
one's a normal.
1, 2. Yay! Have a piece of gold.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so in this example, when you broke out, you were asked to come take a selfie with some lovely props for your prize.
Before that, that's why. I get to submit before I pick up.
Oh, wait, what? Happened?
I didn't see the picture thing, I just hit submit.
Oh, I gotcha. Yep, you do want to make sure we're reading all the information on the page. All right, so some other ideas of clues that you can leave for students. The links take you to areas where you can make fake emails, fake text conversations, tickets, receipts, newspapers, signs. So you can, students are maybe going to be more interested in looking at a store receipt to find out maybe what ingredients they need for an experiment than they are going to be just reading the actual lab report. On the left-hand side, if you want to get even a little more creative, you could use songs, videos, visuals, and then the snow, the jigsaw, puzzle, thing link, those are all links to places that you could go to create codes. How are you going to organize this? So I have a fake ticket, I have an article. How do I want to organize all this material for the students? You can use a Google site, could simply use a Google Doc, a Google slide, even a Google form. You could have just a Google form, and then if all the supporting documents are analog, that would be fine. If you're doing an example for math and you're thinking, no, I really want the students to have to show some work, because that's what I really care about, the lock part is just fun, just give them the Google form online, have the work, have the paper so they can show you your work, and then they can still have fun with the locks. How can you incorporate this into a class? You could use it as a review for new material. An intro for new material. Simply a review for material you've already studied. You could use it as a daily check. You could have one form, but maybe each day in class you're touching on something that's going to unlock something. And maybe the goal is by Friday that the students have listened enough to unlock all the locks. You could use it as an enrichment activity. If you know you have a student that's basically got all your content knowledge and you want to push something a little more out to them, make something for them to use as an enrichment activity. On the last slide, it just takes you to the Breakout EDU Digital Sandbox. And these are breakouts that are already prepared for you. I will say some of them are very challenging. I tried a couple to use for this presentation and didn't have very good luck. Now, I didn't spend a lot of time, but I still spent more than I thought I might. But I would not just toss one of those to students and expect that it's going to work. I would make sure that you've checked it out. And I think we were supposed to be done at 1:20, right? So I knew as I was preparing this, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do it without this much material, but I knew it was going to be too much material for a whole time. So I apologize that you only got to create that one little sample question. Please feel free to get a hold of me if you want help making one, if you just have questions about it. But I hope you enjoyed and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's really
Somebody else asked about doing it again. I said, you can sit in the back and make forms and I can help you with it if you have questions.
Next person will rack that we aren't there.
Yeah, I know.